gonna have to change the head gaskets on my 1988 Chevy S10 Blazer. Has the 4.3 liter throttle body injected V6 in it. Same as a 350 small block, only with 2 less cylinders. I guess I'll run it just one last time before I take it apart to fix it. It is fairly low miles for being 30 years old. It's only got 83,700 on it. It started up fine right now, but sometimes when you start it, the cylinder that's leaking, it leaks excessive coolant into the combustion chamber and the spark plug gets wet and you get a misfire when it first starts, but you give it like a few seconds and it clears up and it runs fine. So yeah, now ever since I had this car, which I've had it for close to 4 years now, I've put about 15,000 miles on it. I've had some various work to the coolant system. You know, there's a new heater core, new radiator, water pump, stuff like that. I've noticed it's had silver seal put in it, so this head gasket problem it has probably had it for before I got it. So, and I obviously flushed the coolant system out and never put the sealer back in. I personally don't like using it because it clogs everything up, and might as well take it apart and fix it properly. So. It's running, let's see if it's... Now it is slightly windy and I just started it, but take a look, you can see the steam coming out the exhaust pipe. Then again, if you run it a little bit more, you get lots of steam coming out the exhaust. I love it. Well, you get the point. Go ahead and turn it off, don't want to run it too long. Now is this head gasket problem. I've driven about 2 or 3 miles and idled it some, just moving it around, and at that time it's burned about 4 liters of coolant, so you get the idea just how bad it is. And it is getting some coolant into the oil. And it doesn't really pick up that well on camera, but it's very, very little. Which I will be changing the oil out, obviously. The other thing is, the hardest thing about this job, from what I see so far, is removing the exhaust manifolds. You have 6 bolts that hold the manifold to the head, and plus you have another 3 to hold on to the exhaust. And to get the head bolts out, you have to take the manifold off because they're under the manifold. So, we'll see how it goes. I also did a compression test on it. The cylinders 1 through 5 are about 120 psi, and the right bank is a bit lower. That would be cylinders 2 through 6. They're about 90 to 100 pounds each. So I'll be doing the valve job on this as well. Pull the valves out and clean the carbon out of the heads. Maybe relap the valves if it's needed, as well as change the valve stem seals because they leak and it does burn oil on startup occasionally. Well, here I am under the right side of the car. I got the 3 bolts removed that hold the exhaust onto the manifold. As you can see, they're the kind of bolts with the springs that keep them tensioned. Obviously the nuts are supposed to come off the studs, but mine are seized, so I just removed them from the manifold, which I'll deal with that later. I just use a long extension with a deep well 15mm. Well, as you can see, looking through the fender well, you got the exhaust manifold removed, held on by 6 14mm bolts, as well as I pulled the spark plugs out as well to keep from breaking them off, because I will be reusing them. I will be putting them back in. For now, just to seal the combustion chambers, as well as you need to unplug a sensor right there, which I believe is a coolant temp sensor. So labeled spark plug wires. It's going back to the power rail. You got 2, 4, 6, and then you got 1, 3, 5 on the left side. Here's what the exhaust manifold looks like with all its proper heat shields. You do want to be quite careful with these, as they can be quite sharp. The spark plug, this is number 6. Number 2, which is quite oily, which I suspect is due to bad valve stem seals. Here's number 2. Look inside the manifold. It's quite clean. Mind you, I was expecting a lot more cotton gold, but there's actually quite not much in there. There's the old gasket on there, right, which I'll have to replace. The manifold looks like in the ports. Well, the right exhaust manifold is off. Now I got the left one off. It's a bit harder because it's surrounded by all sorts of things. So you get mainly this is the biggest problem. This bracket has to come off. And to get this off, there's a couple bolts, and they're behind the power steering pump. To get this off, you have to get through the bolts behind the pulley. Now, some models have holes in the pulley, so you can just stick a ratchet through and take them off. This one does not, so the pulley has to come off. You get the pulley off, you have this puller. You get these two pieces. You have this that goes up against the pulley, and these two half moons go around like so. And then you have this that holds it all together, and then you tighten this down while holding that stationary, and it pulls the pulley off. Also remove the fan shroud, held on by 7 10mm screws. You got 3 here and 2 down there, and 2 down there, and also get the air filter removed. Here's what the puller looks like installed on the power steering pump pulley. Got the outer stud that you trim, which is this one, which is a 5/8. And the big one, I'm not quite sure what size that is. It's using an adjustable spanner on it. I still left the belt on for now, so the pulley doesn't turn when I start removing it, but once I start getting it to come off, I will pull the belt off and then remove it all the way. I got the power steering pump pulley off, as well as I had to take out the fan and the fan pulley to have more room to get to it. The fan is held on by 4 13mm bolts. Make sure you loosen those before you remove the belt, otherwise the pulley will spin and be much more difficult. The belt comes off, just 3 5/8 on this, pull it this way and the belt comes off. And make sure your fan strap has a diagram of the belt, or take a picture of it or draw it out, otherwise you'll be struggling with the belt when you go to put it back on. Also, a better view of the power steering pump shaft right there. You can see there's no shaft key or anything, it's purely a press fit. Here's the pulley. Not much to it, but here's a better view of how the puller works. So I have this piece that this pot pushes up against the pulley, this pushes up against the shaft. There's a ball bearing in there, keep it spinning so it doesn't go up. You have the 2 half moons on like so. Like so, and then you have this. There's a ring that goes on and holds it all together. I might as well pull the alternator off, because it'll give me more room to work. The bracket has to come out anyway. You got one wire that plugs in right there, and one's, hold on, there's a nut right there under the plastic cover. As well as disconnect the battery from doing that. It's an 8mm bolt. And you have the 2 13mm there. And then you have a long one that comes out the back right there. Here's the alternator off. There's one 13mm there. And the big through bolt I said, that was a 13mm, it's actually a 15, and you have a third one that I missed in the back, which is also a 13mm. And 2 wires right there, and the other connection right there. Got the power steering pump removed as much as it needs to be. See? Got the two 14mm that go on the studs that hold this bracket on the exhaust manifold. 110mm that goes right here that holds the fuel lines into the bracket as well. And you have these 4 bolts front, which I believe are 13mm. 3 hold it on, and you have another one that holds another bracket on for the oil lines that go to the oil filter. Now just go ahead and remove this big aluminum bracket. Or I might just leave the bracket on and just take the bolts out so it comes off the head. It really depends on that later how I feel like doing it. I got the two 14mm out to hold on the bracket to the head. You have one back in there, which you can reach through the front with the extension, just like so. You have another one right here, goes right there. Now the more I look at this, I'm probably going to leave the whole bracket still on, because I can still get the head off. Because really there's no need to take this off all the way. 6 are work, didn't really need doing. You got 2 bolts that hold on to the head, and you have 2 or 3 more that hold it onto the block. So this stays in place, the head and bolts, and it just comes off. Now I'll go ahead and start undoing the exhaust manifold. Well, so I did take the bracket off because I don't think the exhaust manifold would clear coming out. Through here was the bracket in the way. It's held on by 14mm bolts. You have one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. This one in there, and this one here is a nut, and the other ones are bolts. You have the 2 studs that go on the top one, and the bottom one right there. Well, I finally got the left side exhaust manifold off, as you can see, and which was a bit of a struggle. I had to disassemble quite more than I expected, because this pad here on the flange goes onto the Y pipe. This part right here will not clear the steering shaft and come out the top. You can see right there, that part would get stuck between here and here, so you can't pull the exhaust manifold out to the top. So pretty much all my time removing the front bracket was a waste. But anyway, it's quite nice not having it in the way to remove the head. Mind you, it was quite easy to remove, so and remove the spark plugs when pull the manifold out, you get more space, but you're just screwed in there loosely, just keep the hole sealed. So to remove the manifold, you have to pull it out through the bottom. Now to get it out through the bottom, you gotta get the Y pipe out, which is this piece right here. Got your left bank of cylinders and your right bank. You collect right there, you get the O2 sensor, and this is where it goes into that catalytic converter. You just have a clamp right here, 2 15mm. Loosen that off, and don't forget your wire for the O2 sensor, otherwise you'll be breaking that off and wasting time trying to repair it, or paying like $50 for a new sensor. And also the studs for this, where they bolt onto the Y pipe, stayed in the manifold, and the nuts and came off like they should. You know, the springs that keep it tight. I like the right side where the nuts are seized and the studs came out of the manifold, and you got the little lip right here, so the bolts don't come out of this flange right here, so I'm going to have to cut those off. There's the left side flange. You have your donut seal that seals that up, which is this piece right here. Made out of some sort of heat resistant material. Definitely not asbestos, because they quit using that a long time ago. Mind you, if it was a 50s car or something like that, it could be, might as well be asbestos, but it's not in this case, because it's 1988. Actually, quite a bit of carbon buildup in the Y pipe right here on the end. Don't know how well that picks up in the camera, but some quite large flakes which I will scrape out, which makes me think about how dirty the O2 sensor is I'll pull that off and clean it. That'll probably improve my gas mileage some.